Sleeping Beauty. A long time ago, there were a king and queen who said every day, "Ah, if only we had a child." But they never had one. But it happened that once when the queen was bathing, a frog crept out of the water onto the land and said to her,
"Your wish shall be fulfilled before a year has gone by. You shall have a daughter."
What the frog had said came true, and the queen had a little girl who was so pretty that the king could not contain himself for joy and ordered a great feast. He invited not only his kindred friends and acquaintances, but also the wise women in order that they might be kind and well disposed towards the child. There were 13 of them in his kingdom, but as he had only 12 golden plates for them to eat out of, one of them had to be left at home. The feast was held with all manner of splendor, and when it came to an end, the wise women bestowed their magic gifts upon the baby. One gave virtue, another beauty, a third riches, and so on with everything in the world that one can wish for. When 11 of them had made their promises, suddenly the 13th came in. She wished to avenge herself for not having been invited, and without greeting or even looking at anyone, she cried with a loud voice,
"The king's daughter shall in her 50s year break herself with a spindle and fall down dead."
And without saying a word more, she turned round and left the room. They were all shocked, but the 12, whose good wish still remained unspoken, came forward, and as she could not undo the evil sentence, but only soften it, she said, "It shall not be death, but a deep sleep of 100 years, into which the princess shall fall." The king, who would fain keep his dear child from the misfortune, gave orders that every spindle in the whole kingdom should be burned. Meanwhile, the gifts of the wise women were plenteously fulfilled on the young girl, for she was so beautiful, modest, good-natured, and wise that everyone who saw her was bound to love her. It happened that on the very day when she was 15 years old, the king and queen were not at home, and the maiden was left in the palace quite alone. So she went round into all sorts of places, looked into rooms and bedchambers just as she liked, and at last came to an old tower. She climbed up the narrow, winding staircase and reached a little door. The rusty key was in the lock, and when she turned it, the door sprang open, and there in a little room sat an old woman with a spindle, busily spinning her flax.
"Good day, old dame,"
said the king's daughter.
"What are you doing there?" "I am spinning,"
said the old woman, and nodded her head.
"What sort of thing is that rattles round so merrily?"
said the girl, and she took the spindle and wanted to spin too. But scarcely had she touched the spindle when the magic decree was fulfilled, and she pricked her finger with it. And in the very moment when she felt the prick, she fell down upon the bed that stood there, and lay in a deep sleep. And this sleep extended over the whole palace, But round about the castle there began to grow a hedge of thorns, which every year became higher, and at last grew close up round the castle and all over it, so that there was nothing of it to be seen, not even the flag upon the roof. So that from time to time king's sons came and tried to get through the thorny hedge into the castle. But they found it impossible, for the thorns held fast together, as if they had hands, and the youths were caught in them, could not get loose again, and died a miserable death. After long years, a king's son came again to that country, and heard an old man talking about the thorn hedge, and that the castle was said to stand behind it, in which a wonderful, beautiful princess had been asleep for 100 years. He had heard too from his grandfather that many king's sons had already come and had tried to get through the thorny hedge, but they had died a pitiful death. Then the youth said,
I am not afraid. I will go and see the beautiful girl.
The king's son came near to the thorn hedge, and he went on farther, and all was so quiet that a breath could be heard. And at last he came to the tower and opened the door into the room where the princess was sleeping. There she lay so beautiful that he could not turn his eyes away, and he stooped down and gave her a kiss. But as soon as he kissed her, she opened her eyes and awoke, and looked at him quite sweetly. Then they went down together. And then the marriage of the king's son with the princess was celebrated with all splendor, and they lived contented to the end of their days.